classic stage. You made legendary. Now, more of Colorado's.
What's happening, y'all?
Only here.
It's the OG Bronc Nuts, 719 West. Live, it's Broncos game day. Headed up to Denver to the 5280 for the first preseason game of the Broncos. Now, I realize this is only really practice, it's like a scrimmage. And I've been to a lot of the Broncos preseason training camps. And to tell you the truth, I like preseason football games better than I like the Broncos training camps because you get better seats and it's a lot more comfortable. Concessions. And plus tonight's going to be a night game, so it'll cool off a little bit because it's a little hot right now. We got the Minnesota Vikings tonight, and which would be interesting because, you know, we got Case Keenum, who played for the Vikings last year, went 13-3, got him one game from the Super Bowl. But not only that, but we traded Trevor Siemian to the Vikings, so he's their backup quarterback. And then we also released Kyle Sloter, who played here in preseason and last year, and then when we cut him, the Vikings picked him up. So it's going to be a lot of ex-Denver quarterbacks and current Denver quarterbacks in this game, so it's going to be kind of cool. Excited to see some new things from the Broncos. Obviously, how our rebuilt offensive line, more experience. Garrett Bowles to make a big leap at left tackle this year. I think Leary's now moved over to left guard, so that's his natural position. And then Pratis at center is always solid. And McGovern came on strong at right tackle last year, and then we were really, or right guard last year, and we were really weak at right tackle. So end up with Jared Vanderveer from Arizona Cardinals. So Denver's offensive line looks a lot more formidable than the turnstile offensive line that we had last year here. I think things, fans in Denver and Broncos country, I mean, we're excited about this year because last year was so bad and so hard to watch, and this year I think we're going to be a much better team. We're going to get better play out of the quarterback, but more importantly, I think we're going to get better play out of our offensive line. I mean, I think Keenum's you can't say he's an average quarterback and can't say he's a bad quarterback. You can't win 13 football. Oh, sorry, man. This one's the little shady up service. I see some of your comments come through. I'm driving. It's kind of hard for me to read. I'm doing the live stream on my cell phone, so I'll just have to check them out a little bit later. I'm also excited to see our new wide receivers. Our wide receiver room's really crowded right now. Matter of fact, I don't know if we've got a wide receiver on our roster that we can cut that won't get picked up by another team. A lot of Broncos players, I mean veterans, especially guys like Chris Harris, are saying that Cortland Sutton is the best number 2 draft pick or best second-round draft pick that they've ever seen. And things are looking really exciting for the Denver Broncos. And look, I think Case Keenum's got better wide receivers this year than he had last year. So, we got a good group of young running backs. I think our defense is going to be formidable. I mean, we got probably the fastest pass rush and maybe all of the NFL. The interior defensive line is really one of the strengths on our team. And then they're in the back end. I mean, still with a Pro Bowl player like Chris Harris and Roby being a first-round draft pick from Ohio State. And Justin Simmons came on strong last year, signed Sua Cravens, although he's not going to play tonight because he's injured, I think, along with Leary. Our left guard's not going to play. And one other player, but I'm not really sure who it is. Also interested to see who's going to end up taking over and wrestling to the ground the punt returning and kick returning duties, because they still got Isaiah McKenzie listed number 1 on the depth chart. Although they're working in Philip Lindsay, that running back that we signed as a free agent from the University of Colorado, as well as I think they might even have Deshaun Hamilton returning a few punts. And, of course, if Jordan Taylor was healthy, they would have said he would have been number 1, but he hadn't even practiced yet in camp. So I just hope we can catch punts, because that was an atrocious, abysmal 3-ring circus that we had with our special teams last year. And looking for big things, man. I'm excited. I think Broncos country, across the state here and really all across the Rocky Mountain region, they're really excited for this new season. And because we've got some hope here. I mean, we can look at just the training camp videos and the personnel that we have. We've got a coaching staff now that's now put together for more than a year, and looking for Broncos to make big strides and be a formidable opponent in the AFC West. And I really think the AFC West is up for grabs. I mean, you look at the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs lost yesterday, whatever, big deal, it's practice, it's preseason. But to me, I still got questions about the Chiefs, and their run defense. Just what I said last year would be the reason why they wouldn't go that far in the playoffs, because I don't really consider C.J. Anderson that great of a back. And C.J. Anderson was putting up yards on the Chiefs. And, of course, when they got in the playoffs, you see what Derrick Henry did to go yards in that playoff game. But, the Chiefs are little front offensive line, and they definitely got some weapons between Hunt and Sammy Watkins and Hill and Kelsey, and Chiefs should be able to score points, but that kind of thing plays really into the Denver Broncos' strength of being able to stop a team like that. And hopefully, our problem last year is we couldn't score points, we couldn't keep the quarterback up upright. I don't think Trevor's that bad of a quarterback, but he's definitely, he's not a good quarterback. He's not really a starting quarterback in the NFL, but put him behind a good offensive line, I think he can do all right. I mean, if you put Tom Brady on our team last year, we probably would have still maybe won 8 games at the most, because we just can't protect anybody. So I'm looking for a lot of big changes along the Broncos roster up and down the list today, and I'm sure a lot of you are. Looking for Garrett Bowles to make huge strides at left tackle for us this year. Definitely looking forward to Deshaun Hamilton and Courtland Sutton, what they bring to our wide receiver group. They say that Sutton's got a little work to do as far as being able to run all of the routes, but to hear it from Chris Harris Jr.'s mouth himself, he says that Keenum's playing phenomenal in practice, and Sutton's lighting it up with some great one-handed catches and 50-50 balls. And so those kind of things are really exciting to hear as a Broncos fan. It's a great day here in Denver. Right now it's about 85 degrees at 4 o'clock. Game time's not until 7, and it's supposed to be pretty warm at game time, so that's kind of nice. Yeah, man, I'm excited to see Chubb play too. He's a rookie, so keep that in mind. They say Shane Ray's playing really well. Shaq Barrett's playing really well. So Broncos got some experience coming off the edges with Miller and that group. And I expect we're going to be able to put a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks in the AFC West this year. When you look at the AFC West as a whole, I think you can make a case for every single team in the AFC West to finish first in the West. And I also think you can make a case for every single team in the AFC West to finish last. Now, some people might say, oh, you're being a homer, but I really don't think that I am. I really think this Broncos team is capable of winning 8, 9, 10 games. And I think 9-7, 10-6 will probably win this division, because there's some pretty good football going to be played in this division. You look at the Chiefs, who won the division last year. I'm still, like I said, not sold on their run defense. I'm not sold about their offensive line. And they've got a young quarterback. I mean, not everybody's really high on Mahomes, and I think Mahomes in the end will be a pretty good little player. But, I mean, he's played in one JV game. I mean, that's essentially what Broncos didn't have anything to play for. We were banged up. They were banged up. So I can't really give Mahomes that much credit for being this great, savior of the sorry Kansas City Chiefs just yet. And you look at the Raiders, a lot of people think that Marshawn Lynch is washed up. I mean, I don't. And I think he proved it last night with that run they had, like on the 4th play of the game. He took it to the crib. There's a holding call on their rookie left tackle, what's his name, Colton something. And, hey, look, they're going to go through some of the same things that we went through with Bowles being a rookie. And so, I mean, I think the Raiders have a chance to struggle. They've got some weapons along that offense, with Carr. Cook's a great tight end. And then Cooper. And who else did they get? What's his face? Jordy Nelson. Along with Marshawn Lynch in the backfield. I mean, they've got some weapons, should be able to score some points. I think the Raiders defense, I don't know. maybe you'll be a little bit better this year than they were last year, but I still think that's the weak part of their team. And, if you don't have a good defense, it's going to really stop you from winning a lot of games in the NFL. And then, like I've said before, you look at the Chargers, the gut feeling tells me that the Chargers are the team to beat in the AFC West this year. It's hard to say that because they've been irrelevant for so long, and until you win the division, it's hard to say you're the favorite to win the division the next year. But, I mean, they came on strong at the end of the year last year and already had a good defense with their interior defensive line with Bosa and Ingram, and then they added that first-round corner from Florida State. I can't remember his name, but I remember him being a great player. And then, they got, I think, Keenan Allen is really one of the most underrated big-time wide receivers in all of the NFL. I think Rivers is quality, and I think you can make a case for that team winning the West. And I think you can do the same thing for the Broncos, make a case for them winning the West. And like I said, I think you can make a case for all four of those teams finishing last place in the West too. So it's going to be interesting. It's fun when you go into the season and there's not a clear-cut favorite who is going to win the division. So, it kind of brings all of the fan bases into the excitement. And I'm certainly excited about it. What else? I mean, I'm not real, as far as like Vance Joseph as our coach. I mean, when I listen to him talk, there's nothing about him that really gets me really excited that he's our head coach. I mean, I'm sure that he knows football, and, your first year or two in the NFL is going to be difficult times, just, trying to figure out what's going on and what kind of personnel you got and coaching staff you got. But I'm confident in Bill Musgrave. I think he's good with quarterbacks. I think he's going to be good for Case Keenum. And I think we're going to see a much different team this year in Denver than we saw last year. I mean, bowl rings. Unlike the Chiefs and Chargers, your empty-ass fingers. But I think that, the Broncos got some experience. We got some leadership. We got some talented players that really can make an impact for us. And then, let's don't forget that, Jake Butt, our tight end, is now healthy. He didn't play all year last year. Be awesome to see Chad Kelly beat out Paxton Lynch for the backup quarterback job. And maybe we can just move on from the Paxton Lynch era. I mean, look, there's been times during training camp, the guy shows clearly why he was a number one draft pick, because he's highly athletic and he can do a lot of things. But there's also times in training camp when he showed that he shouldn't even have an NFL uniform. So, I think we probably carry three quarterbacks on the roster this year. The question is it going to be Case Keenum, and then which one of the two between Kelly and Lynch do we keep, and maybe we sign a veteran backup, or, look, Paxton's in the last year of his contract, and he's pretty cheap, and then, of course, Chad Kelly being Mr. Irrelevant, he's playing for practically free. So, who knows what we're going to end up with as far as quarterbacks on our roster, but I feel real good about our running backs. I don't really care which one of them's in the game between D'Angelo Henderson and Booker, and then, of course, the Rolls Royce, Freeman, and I think all three of those guys, and even in adding on third downs, Philip Lindsay from CU, he kind of reminds you a little bit of Christian McCaffrey. I'm not saying he's good as Christian is, because he's not, but I think he's a playmaker. He's a tough kid. He's got sure hands. He's pretty fast, and so I think the Broncos' backfield looks pretty. I think our wide receivers look better right now than they did even on our Super Bowl team, and our offensive line is going to be much better. We've got three solid tight ends that we can put in the game. And then defensively, our front seven, I'm not sure that there's a better, I mean, maybe we're not the best front seven in the NFL, but we're damn sure a top 5 front seven. We're going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. I mean, Wolf is finally healthy now again this year, coming off that neck injury. I think that played pretty decently at linebacker. It's unfortunate that the 3rd or 4th pick, Josie Wells, that we got from Iowa, he struggled a little bit with some injuries. Sorry, guys, keep getting disconnected on the live stream. Colorado's one of those states that, for cellular service, it's awesome because we got really tall peaks to, put up cell towers and stuff, but it's also terrible sometimes because on every single street corner here and can get in the line of sight. I'm just happy that football's finally back. Happy that I'm getting this day up in Denver and get to spend a lot of time around some Broncos fans. I'm driving up here to meet my boy Flight, big Broncos fan. You've seen him in a lot of my videos before. I go to a lot of games with fun guy to go to football. I don't, look, the training camp, we've had some near records in attendance. 20, 25,000 people, 30,000 people showing up to watch practice. So I'd imagine we're going to have a relatively good amount of people at the game here tonight. I expect around, 50, 55,000 people. We'll probably have 20,000, 30,000 no-shows tonight. But it's going to be fun to watch some of these younger players. I've been to a lot of training camp practices over the years. And training camp's cool. But to tell you the truth, I'd rather have preseason football because it's just more comfortable and you got the big screens, you can watch replays and those sort of things on. And we got some cracking of the pads and football in the air, and it's just a great thing for not only the Broncos fan base, but all fan bases all around the NFL. And if you're going to be up at the game, might be kind of hard to get a hold of me, and if you want to link up, I am going to be at Brooklyn's for a few hours, grabbing some dinner, maybe a few beers before we head over to the game. But pretty hard to find each other inside the stadium. Just look for the Bronc Nuts on the back of the jersey. You know how I roll. Got a few people watching the stream, just a couple here. Thanks for you guys for tuning in and checking it out. A lot of traffic headed up to Denver today. A lot of Broncos fans on the road. I'm almost up here. Got about another 5 miles before I hit the edge right there at I-25 and Littleton. I was thinking about parking my truck and riding the light rail in so I don't have to mess with any traffic. But I'm actually meeting a friend of mine, so looks like I'm going to have to drive it in. For those of you who've never been to Denver and come to a game, if you don't want to deal with parking, and we've got a really good system here, the light rail is dang near free. I mean, you can pay a little bit something for it for a round trip. It's like $5. And the light rails are really nice, and they take you and drop you off right in front of the stadium. So it's easy to get in and out of there after the games. And there's lots of light rail stations all along I-25, starting at Lincoln down here south, all the way to the stadium. And of course, light rail goes a lot more places than just the stadium. If you're not utilizing the light rail in Denver, you should be, because it's a great way to get around for cheap and not have to deal with all the traffic. See somebody saying that you're in Arizona and you're a Broncos fan. That's awesome. I'm actually, last night, found out that I got some business I got to attend to in Phoenix, and a company's going to pay me to come out there and do some training. And I booked it actually on the 30th. I said, get me in there on Thursday the 30th before 4 o'clock. So the OG Bronc Nuts is going to actually go to the 4th preseason game between the Broncos and the Cardinals. Definitely going to go check that out. So, if you're in town, and you say you live there in Phoenix, I'll be there if you want to link up. Maybe we can do a little live stream in the parking lot. That'd be kind of cool. But I'm happy to be home. You know, a lot of you know that I've been down in working that hell hot place. My goodness, man. 111 degrees, 125 on the heat index. I mean, just absolutely miserable. Where I'm working outside, the temperature's 85, and you're not sweat crazy, and it's not even humid. I mean, it's just nice. Beautiful day here in Denver. Just coming in. I'll give you a little look at it. Not quite to downtown yet, but I'm going to probably live stream all the way to the stadium here. I'll get off on Colfax. I'm not going to pull into the stadium because I got to go meet somebody first. And then I also brought my GoPro up, so I'm going to take a bunch of pictures and stuff that's going on. I'll chop that up, put it in a video tomorrow. But, yeah, man. Football season has been so long, man. It's just so long since football's been over with. I mean, especially for Broncos fans where, you know, we were not only playoffs by the end of the year, that last game, we couldn't wait for the season to be over just to stop the misery. It's been quite a long time since we've had a season like that here in Denver. I mean, we're used to winning. Everybody knows about our illustrious Super Bowl appearances that we have. The 3 rings. I think we've got 15, 16 AFC West titles. And, you know, so it's a proud franchise here, well supported by fans in this state and in the Rocky Mountain region, and really fans all over the world. I mean, when I was in Texas, I was eating pizza at this place. This guy walked in, had on, it was all loaded up with Broncos gear, and I said, wow, you from Colorado? He said, no, I live here in Texas. I said, how you live in Texas and you don't like the Cowboys or Texans? He said, I just always been a Broncos fan. I'm like, well, good. I mean, welcome to the group. I don't know. Tell me what you guys are excited to see tonight. I mean, biggest thanks for me is really, you know, the quarterback situation. I want to see some of our young wide receivers, and then definitely, I know it's crazy to say that I'm looking forward to watching special teams, but I am looking forward to watching the special teams because I think Isaiah McKenzie, I got a feeling he's not going to make this team this year. I don't know. It's going to be hard because really he's a wide receiver kick returner. And, I mean, if he has a hard time in this preseason handling punts, I just see him getting cut because I think we're too good at wide receiver. I mean, we also didn't have, what's his name? D'Angelo, not D'Angelo. The other guy, Henderson, Carlos Henderson, he hasn't showed up to camps, having some personal problems. I mean, I think the guy's not even going to play in the NFL anymore. I mean, right now he's still under contract with the Broncos and he's getting fine, but I mean, I don't see him showing up this year at all. So, I mean, I think he's done. So, you know, Jordan Taylor's still recovering from injury. He's on the physically unable to perform list. And it's unfortunate for him because I know he's a big fan favorite here with the Broncos. And he's made a lot of really nice plays for us. And he did a real good job of handling the kick return duties at the end of the year last year. And we finally, Uncle Vance put Isaiah McKenzie on the bench with his butterfingers. But I think our wide receivers are really strong. You know, to hear Alfred Williams, who is a former Bronco great, and of course Elway, and Broncos sings of the plays that Cortland Sutton is making in is really encouraging for Broncos fans. I mean, I think, who was it? I think it was Shaq Barrett got interviewed. I watched an interview on YouTube with him from yesterday's practice, and he said that by far Cortland Sutton is the best second-round draft pick he's ever seen. So, you know, arguably we got the best wide receiver in the draft, and we stole him at the position that we got him from. So hopefully Case is able to utilize that. I mean, I think our wide receiver core is better than Diggs and whatever that white kid's name is, with Thielen or whatever that he had last year. I mean, Thielen had a good year. Diggs is fast. I mean, he's a decent receiver. But I think, the group of wide receivers that we have at Keenum to throw to is it's as good as we've had here in a long time. So, the Broncos were able to play some defense last year, although you look at the numbers and, we were like 25th or 26th in points allowed. And really that didn't have anything to do with our defense. It had more to do with our offense, that we were so many 3-and-outs, getting drives busted up, and the defense was right back on the field, or we get a turnover down in, our own territory. And, the defense just, in the NFL, you can't give pro players that many chances because they're going to beat you sooner or later. They're just that good. And so hopefully, this year been able to sustain some drives. I think we're going to be able to run the football. I think, Freeman's a bell cow. I don't know exactly who's going to start this year, but, just the fact that Booker has some pro experience, I expect him to be the starter and to work Freeman and Henderson in there. But like I said, man, all three of those backs, I think, are quality backs. And I think they can all play. And I don't think Booker is a bust. I really don't. I think he's going to benefit from some of that offensive line, better quarterback play, and being able to move the ball downfield. So looking for big things from Devontae Booker and that running back group that we got. They say Freeman's looking really well in practice. And then I think last year, you look at the preseason, D'Angelo Henderson was probably the star of training camp. So, running back, I feel confident. I never really was a big C.J. Anderson fan because I just didn't feel like he gave us that explosive ability that when he cut through the line, he could take it to the house and change the scoreboard. He just doesn't have that kind of speed. I mean, he's a good football player for the Broncos, and I'm thankful that he was here, helped us, get that Super Bowl win. But it was time for him to move on. It really was just a money thing. He's in Carolina now, and he's definitely going to be good for them because C.J. Anderson's good around the goal line. And they've got a third down back in McCaffrey. So, I don't know, it's a good move for the Broncos, moving on from Anderson and getting younger in our backfield. Let's don't forget about Andy Janovich. I mean, he was a second-round draft pick, the best fullback in the entire draft. Now, I haven't heard his name a lot in camp, and I don't know, how we, with this new coaching staff, if they're really going to use Janovich a lot in two-back sets. But not only is he a great blocker and a very physical football player, he's also, he's got the moves of a tailback. I mean, he really does. And so I think it'll be exciting to see if he gets in the game tonight and maybe on how we would use them. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this live stream up. I appreciate you guys tuning in, checking out my channel. And I'm psyched up for this game. I'm happy football's back. And I'm going to take some pictures and chop up a video for you to watch tomorrow on Sunday. But for now, this is the OG Bronknut 719 West checking on up out of here. About to hit the 5280. Let's go Broncos! Woo!
Or the dog park. Not a no, not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium, 2-topping pizzas delivered